Hey y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Race Kiki with Jonathan Lee. I'm your host, Jonathan Lee. How are you? You look beautiful. I hope today is the day that you realize your incredible power in the universe. With that said, I want to introduce you to Jay Evans. He has a show here on YouTube called Jay Talks. I became familiar with Jay um, after my sister sent me a video of she and Jay. Well, my sister was a guest on Jay's show, and it was so fun and it was lovely. So my sister sends me this message and she says, I think you need to talk to him about race. And I said, okay. So I did. This call is fun. It's interesting and it's insightful. I really hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe, of course. Go to his page and like and subscribe, and come back next week and you'll have another episode. But until then, watch this one. It's real good. You're going to learn some stuff. I did. Hey Jay, this is. Nope, I have to cut that off.
The J confused you. You can say you're J1.
No, I usually say, welcome to Race Kikis with Jonathan Lee. Jay, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, Jay. How are you?
I'm great. It's really, when Jessica sent me your information, she says, Jessica's my little sister, y'all. Jessica's my baby sister. She's who I want to be when I grow up. She's 11 years younger than me, and I still want to be her when I grow up. I'm having her on very soon because I want to talk about mental health and racism. I want to know how that can affect you in whatever. So Jessica's one of my favorite people in the world to pick her brain.
She's a sweetheart.
I know she reminds me a lot of our mother. Like a lot of our mother.
I met y'all mom once. She's really, really sweet.
Miss Pam.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Miss Pam. She's a delightful woman. You be around her and you have no other choice but to A, be on your best behavior, and B, know that you're in the presence of regalness and you act accordingly.
Yeah. Very classy.
She's a classy lady with a wicked sense of humor.
But that's where Jessica gets it from.
We're so kind, but it's always laced in there. There's always just a little bit of judgment and a little bit of shade, but we mean it with love. we mean it with love. So I'm like, baby, you don't need that extra piece of pie, but if you want it, go ahead. Go ahead, okay. Go on with God.
You can't fit your clothes, but yeah.
You haven't seen your feet since the 80s, but okay, go ahead.
Oh my God.
My mother wouldn't say that, but I might. I have a question. My standard question.
Yes.
When did you learn about race?
Okay, so I love that question too, because I watched. The first time, I'm going to say it was 2 times I learned about it.
Okay.
It was through school and through family. When I was really, really young, I was in K4 and K5 in first grade. I went to Catholic school. We were not Catholic. I don't know why I was going to Catholic school, but my older cousin went, I went, my younger cousin. It was like right down the street. So at this point, we were still staying in the Black neighborhood.
Where were you?
I was in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Wisconsin. And so I knew when I went to school, all of the kids were like me. They were all Black. But the teachers, some of them were nuns and some of the priests were white. And there were some Black priests, but I just knew something was different. But then when it was time for me to go to second grade, we moved. When we moved to the suburbs, I was like, what is this? Because I was used to like a corner store, a church on every corner, a liquor store, cars going fast. And I was just like, what is this? And I would walk to school and I would see like the big lawns, like immaculate. And I was just, it really didn't dawn on me. I just knew then I was going to school with people that looked different, but we were necessarily friends. Like I still was grouped together with other Black kids. So in the midst of that, I was like, I don't like this school. So we moved back to the Black neighborhood. So I was like, I want to go to this other school. And it was sixth grade. So I went to junior high. It was everything, white, Black, Mexican, Chinese, and we were all friends. So at that point, I was like, and this was around the time my uncle, who was in the army, brought his new girlfriend home, and he was coming from Germany. So I was like, she's gonna be white. And so I was like asking different questions, and she's now his wife, and she still is like my favorite aunt. So that's when it clicked that, oh, this is different.
Okay.
It took a while.
It took a while.
It took a while.
When you went to that school in sixth grade, was it in a Black neighborhood, or is it an integrated neighborhood? Also still in Milwaukee?
I was still in Milwaukee. It was more like the South Side, so it was more Mexican, but it was more diverse. Like we were all friends. I loved it. The only time I hated it is when I got on the bus, because when I got on the bus, it was kids in my neighborhood in different areas, and the whole thing of it's different and it's fresh and it's new. Once I got on the bus, I was back to hood. And I just remember one time these girls got to fighting. And I had saw fights before I was a kid. The girl and her friend got to fighting, and her friend jumped in and helped her, and they beat this girl down. I was like, I'm used to, I was like, what? And so
what is this?
It was different. So when I was in school, it was like so fun, like how the Josephine Baker, she did the little rainbow tribe. I was with my rainbow tribe. When I got on the bus, hood. But it was like, this is it.
Now, with that rainbow tribe, did you guys hang out outside of school?
Yeah. Like we would talk on the phone, we would hang out. This was probably the most fun I ever had in school. Because after that, went back to private school again, and I was back to being Black. So I wasn't.
School was high school?
Yeah, this was 7th, 8th grade, half of 7th grade, 8th grade, the same school I went to as first grade and kindergarten. I put back in this school, but this is what people need to learn. When they think private school is so great, it's not. I learned about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'm coming from like this mixed variety of kids to Black kids, and then I was just like, I wasn't even talking like slang or hood, and they were just like, what's wrong with you? So it was different. It was completely different. But it was, it wasn't the same. And then, of course, in 9th grade, we moved to Mississippi. Big difference.
Where in Mississippi?
Okay, so when we first moved, we stayed in Scott. Is it Scott? Scott? We went to Scott Forest, Mississippi, and we were staying in Scott County. Yes. Okay. I wouldn't have made it. We stayed there briefly. I wouldn't have made it, Jay. Like, it was just like, that was another thing that I learned. It was a different race, because this was like 96, 97, and they were like still paddling kids. So they were like, you can either take the whooping or go home. And I'm like, what? But it was different from them doing it with the Black kids and the white kids. I never saw the white kids get paddled, but the Black kids, They always just took the whooping. And I just remember when we moved there, we actually were staying with my uncle and his wife. It's like his second wife. And I remember her telling me, if they ask you, if you get in trouble, you better take the whooping. I'm like, you ain't even my real auntie. Like,
Right?
yeah. But we stayed there briefly and then we moved to Jackson. And that
Okay.
was, I'm glad because it was really like, you must be.
I don't remember a lot of high school because we moved around a lot when I was younger. But I can remember when we moved back from Washington. We were living in Washington. I'm sorry, no, we did live in Washington, but when we moved back from Houston to Natchez, Mississippi, I was in the 9th grade. And English class happened. And so first day of school and first day, 9th grade, and all of these kids have been going to school with one another since the 8th, since they started school. And here I come. And sure, I was chocolatey, beautiful, young, skinny as a matchstick, knees knobbling together. But she was cute, though. Cute, I tell you. The way I remembered, I had little pigtails. I did not.
The famous black girl pigtails.
Yes, cute, honey, with knocks on the end. Anyway, the teacher, I don't miss somebody. She says, "Okay, I want you to stand up and tell everybody your name and blah 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 blah." So I stand up and I say, "Hi, my name is Eddie Jackson, and my family and I just moved here from Houston, but we've lived in various places, so on and so forth." So I'm telling all of these things about myself, and I hear snickering happening behind me, just a bunch of snickering happening behind me, and I'm 15, and I'm like, I was very small when I was 15. So I'm like, what the hell is this? So as I'm sinking down into my chair, one of the guys says, "Where's the white guy?"
You weren't black enough.
And that stuck with me. And I can remember the constant thing. It wasn't the obvious nature of my homosexuality. It wasn't that they came for me. It was the questioning my level of blackness,
Yeah.
or my expression of blackness. And it was, I don't remember it fondly.
Yeah.
But I don't remember being harassed because I have 3 really, really pretty sisters. My older sister, Jennifer, I don't know if you've met her, but Jennifer is 2 years older than me. And everybody wanted to be in Jennifer's good graces. So they never treated me poorly.
Oh.
So I had that, and that was great. But I also remember wanting desperately to get as far away from Mississippi as I possibly could, because I knew that the version of the person I wanted to be, if I was that person, my mouth would have gotten me killed.
Yeah.
I knew that I couldn't be this guy, and I couldn't be that guy in Mississippi, so I left.
Yeah. I get it.
And then I moved to Colorado. Well, I eventually moved to Colorado, where I lived for 19 years. As have you ever been to Colorado?
No.
Okay. Um, when I was in the Army, because I joined the Army and I moved to Colorado. I got to Colorado, Fort Carson. Yes, I was in the Army. And to answer your question, no, there was nothing different about the way I acted. No. So here I was a therapist in the Army. My job was to deal with people at the end stages of their life.
And it was the most wonderful thing for me, because through those people dying or hearing their story, their stories of their life, it taught me how best to live my own.
Oh.
And so through their strength, I guess, it taught me how to just stand up. Granted, a lot of people in Colorado at that time didn't look like me.
I can imagine.
And consequently, all of my friends didn't look like me. And all of the people that I dated didn't look like me.
Mm.
Then I got into a car accident several years after that. And then I started dating a guy who was a super white supremacist. And that, yeah, yes, honey. I had a car accident when I was 24. It wiped out all of my childhood memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost the connection with my blackness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started dating a person that reinforced all of the negative anti-black propaganda that we face on an everyday basis. This fellow was just kept reinforcing that whilst we were in this relationship.
Ooh.
And it took many years for me to find my way out of that.
Yeah.
And from that, I emerged mean. I was just mean to everybody because I was hurt. And I was high, but the takeaway from that was I became very, very hypersensitive to microaggressions, accidental racism, purposeful racism, the accidental slights, the grabbing of the purse, the all of these things that we notice whilst walking while black.
Yeah. Yes.
So that leads me to, when did you come out?
I don't necessarily think I was in.
I don't think I ever was in either.
I think, okay, I remember like 16 or 17, I was thinking like, let me try to see what it's like to be gay for a day. You know, because I was like, something is not right. And then I was like, no, I'm not gay. And then I was like, let me try again. But I think for me, and I think probably like a lot of people from my generation, just period, from the younger generation, because they're a whole nother thing. But once I finished high school, I was like, oh yeah, I can just be what I want to be, try what I want to try. Like I remember the first time I hooked up with a guy and like, ew, I don't like this. And I was like, let me try it one more time.
I'm gonna try it 6 more times. Let's see.
That second time I was like, but the third time, oh yeah, I was like, yes, this is it. I like it.
Let me try it 6 more times just to make sure.
That's what it was. And I was just like, this is me. And I don't care who likes it. You don't have to agree with it because I don't have to agree with you. But this is me.
You don't have to like me, but don't fuck with my joy.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it in your living room. I'm not doing it in front of your mama. Just leave me alone.
Yeah. And respect me. I'm gonna respect
me.
Yes.
Tell me about racism in your life now.
Okay, so now it's a little different because I've experienced a couple of situations. Like I remember being on a job. It was like a phone job, right? And this was the most I've ever heard people say like racial things to me because it's over the phone. They don't see your face. So over the phone, you can be big and bad. And I remember one time before that, I had got like a little part-time job at St. Dollars. I was like still in college. And it was this nurse And she went out of her way to let me know, and another nurse had started, we were doing orientation together, but I wasn't a nurse. And she was just like, this is your job. You're down here. This is her job. She's up here. And I was like, what? So we went to lunch together. And then she was like, do you want some of this? Like some bread or something she had made. And I was like, no. She was like, do you know what it is? And it looked like dog food. And I knew what it was. I said yes, and I don't want any. But I was just like, something is wrong with this lady. So I didn't even go back to the job. But after that, and once I moved to Texas, right around the time before they elected the former president, I just was like, the world is sort of in a better place. We're having these incidents, but little did I know, nothing had changed. Once he got in office, it just brought things to the forefront, and it made me more awake to like, it's still the same.
I think actually it's different because it's more emboldened. These people, nope, I don't want to use that term. That term is not polite. Oh yeah, that's better. What I'm finding, and follow my breadcrumbs here. I'm a whisper older than you, so I know that what I was educated in school is we were taught American history. George Washington did this, Abraham Lincoln did this, all these white guys did all of these things, right? We're taught Black history like this much time, right? Then we are taught generally by, if you're lucky, teachers that look like you. If you're not, you're taught by teachers who don't look like you, who may or may not hold conscious or unconscious bias against people who look like you, which skews the information that they're sharing you.
Right.
In addition to that, so you're walking around and you get educated this way, then you go out into the world. And everything in your education that has not taught you how to critically think, but to only take tests, is reinforcing the things that you've learned from this particular white narrative. So then you go into your life and you're doing your thing and you're trucking along and everything operates as designed. But the minute it stops working that way, or the minute other people get affected by the way things are meant to be by design, people start getting upset. People start getting confused. When the administration started looking more like you and I than other people, people start feeling as if my rights, my liberties are going to be stripped away from me because you and I will be equal, which I don't know why I'm trying to sound like William Shatner right now, but it's just what's happening. It's just it's just the way I see it. And if you follow the one thing we worship in America, the dollar, you can see who the puppet masters are. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist because that is not what I'm doing. I'm just telling you the facts and the way that I see them. And I think that we're all being programmed to work in a system that has been designed to work exactly like it's working.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're having such an uproar right now is because others are waking up and seeing this system and saying, but wait, what do you mean? Yeah, we can all go to college. But do you know that when I moved from Texas to Mississippi from the 8th to the 9th grade. When I went to the 9th grade, Mississippi was teaching me the same lessons that I learned in the 6th grade in Washington when I lived in a predominantly white school district. So you can't tell me that we're all educated the same. You can't tell me that when we are all going to apply to the colleges based on the education that our school districts can afford, you can't tell me that we're all looked at the same way or graded the same way. And even if we are lucky enough to get into college and we get all of these loans are taxed high, have a higher interest rate. So by the time we get out of college, we're in triple the debt as our white counterparts. So don't tell me that things are equal.
No.
And when I know that all of the beautiful Black women in my life earn 61 cents on a dollar to the white men generally, and I know how hard they work, and I know that the Black women out here working their ass off, and the reason why that the men in their lives aren't there, maybe those guys had a joint on them and now they're in jail for 20 years while this white dude is making millions on legal marijuana. And we have Black people and brown people rotting in jail for carrying a gram of weed. You better shut up.
Yeah.
The system is designed specifically this way to always have us at a disadvantage.
Yeah. I don't think within the last year, the incidents that have happened, right? Like Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, to me, the only thing that has changed when it comes to race and treatment is if you look at what people went through the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, and what people have went through now. The only difference is they're not pulling out water hoses, spraying people. They're not sticking dogs on people, but they're still getting away with a young Black girl being in her house. The police come in, nothing is done about it. A group of police are standing on a Black man's neck, nothing is done about it. I only feel like what changed it this time is there was an outrage worldwide. When the whole world got outraged, then they're like, oh, because I remember I got so many emails, I don't know if you did, from like different companies I shop with, different businesses that said, oh, we value Black lives and we acknowledge it. But after that, what did y'all do?
Nothing.
Y'all didn't do anything.
Nothing. And
So,
then when that one day, when they were all putting those black squares up, you remember those black squares on Instagram?
yeah.
And I went on my Instagram and every company had their black squares and they were talking about we support Black lives and we do this and we do that. But yet the very next day, here goes some wafy white models and all of your things.
It didn't change. Everybody to me just
has changed.
They went along with it because it was the thing to do.
You profited from it. And you know what? The other day, I was watching the news, and did you hear, you may not have heard, there was a 9-year-old girl in the back of a police car, and they maced her.
Yes, I saw the video. Yep.
And then then they're all like, we're investigating the police officer and to see if it was justified or not. So now we're, as usual, criminalizing children for being Black, criminalizing children for walking, criminalizing children for just existing.
And from the part that I saw of the video, she was just saying, I want my dad. She wasn't being like this.
Doesn't matter. I don't care what she was saying.
But
she was 9. We've all been around 9-year-olds. They can hoot and holler and spit and what have you. You don't have, why would you mace a baby?
That was handcuffed.
I'll bet you if she was Brittany with blonde hair and blue eyes, she'd be sitting right there crying, spitting. She'd be throwing poop. They wouldn't have had handcuffs on her. She'd be sitting in the front seat of the police car with a gun twirling it in her hand.
Everything.
With lollipops, they would have gotten her ice cream. She would be had their hats on. There would be an Instagram story about it. Hoda Copy would show up. Shut up.
Everything. That's the only thing she was saying from the part that I did see, was I want my dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a 9-year-old kid being handcuffed at 9, I can't even begin to think what I would think as at 9, and then you're throwing her in the back of the car. She even asked for a female police officer, and then they're like, oh, when you mace this a kid. So it's a lot. I just don't think anything has changed. We've just changed where we're fortunate enough now to go get educated if we choose to. We're fortunate enough now where we can apply for a job and we might get it. But then I've seen jobs where you're a supervisor, but we won't let you be a manager. And we're just fortunate enough now where we can live a little bit better, but nothing has really changed.
Or the gag back when I was in corporate America, when I would have to train my boss.
Yeah,
I would have to train my boss for a job that you didn't even tell me that was available.
No.
Oh, and you want me to train my boss on a job that I didn't know that was available on manuals that I wrote.
Yeah. And that same boss is going to have to still come to you once they get that role about questions that they have because they don't know.
About the manual that I wrote.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was there, and then find out that the co-teacher, the guy that I trained to be my Vanna White, was making several more dollars than me.
Yeah.
If it was $500, several thousand more dollars than me.
Yeah. That's still the age we live in. And I don't think some people can't understand it because they're like, what do they want now? Why are they so mad? Why are they upset? Or this one really gets me when we might say Black Lives Matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might say, no, all lives matter. Well, we're not included in your all. So that's why we're saying Black Lives Matter. But a lot of people don't understand that we would not have to say it separately if we were still not dealing with the same situations now.
Reason I think that those conversations, that when you hear those people, the all lives matter, what they're doing is looking at the world through their own lens.
Yeah.
They're looking through it through white lens. They're not, that is a person incapable of seeing another person's journey. They're incapable of it. And that is also because I don't believe that we have emphasized empathy in our country. We don't teach our children empathy. We don't teach our children compassion. We don't teach this. We don't reinforce it. We don't celebrate it because there's no way to monetize it.
Right.
And the only thing that we as a nation have only been taught to be concerned about is whether or not you can make money off of it and whether or not you can be famous.
Pretty much. Yes.
And most of that fame is generally off putting a white face on Black talent.
Yes. Yes, that's very true.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just preaching. Do I feel
No,
preachy?
no, that's true. But I too think some people, because I won't say because there are people that understand that get it of different races.
You are
But
absolutely correct. I will take that generalization away. When I say all, I don't mean all. I mean all as a nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're not directly affected by it, they don't get it or they don't want to get it. Like I'll say, when all those people stormed the Capitol building, right? Two things. One, if let's just say if President Barack Obama was still the president that ignited that whole thing, oh, they would have impeached him within 24 hours. Now, if that was a group of Black people that would have
gotten there,
we wouldn't, it would have been a bloody river all the way to Mississippi.
We wouldn't have gotten inside of Washington
At all.
You know it. I know. You saw what happened when that fool. I'm sorry. When when the one who I won't speak of anymore, when he wanted to go take that disrespectful satanic picture in front of the church holding a book that he has never touched before in front of a church. He'd never opened that thing before in his life. I'm sorry, I'm not coming for that human's journey.
But it was upside down.
It was upside down. That's the way they read it in his church. But we saw the way that the protesters that were there, peaceful, just saying, "Don't kill us. We're here. Just let us breathe. Let us be here." And pepper spray.
That was the issue.
Pepper spray.
Let these people storm a whole building, and now you
want to kill everybody. Threaten to kill everybody.
To kill them, but now, it's a problem. It's a problem because you were affected by it. But 4 years of his sexism and racism didn't outrage y'all because y'all didn't want to impeach him, but now y'all wanted to impeach him. And
the 4 years of all that sexism and racism and all that stuff, they knew what they were getting when they got him in there. If you watched 1 minute of The Apprentice, you knew what fool was coming up in there. You knew it. And any person attached to that mess, do you know that he had an apparel company, right? That sold the tackiest ties, the tackiest, cheapest. These ties, if you got near them, if you lit a cigarette while wearing that tie, everything would burn up. You'd be like Michael Jackson in that curl explosion.
Yes, I remember those ties because they were always in TJ Maxx on sale.
Of course they were. And then his daughter's purses that if they get them wet, they're gonna fall apart. Ivanka, that absent-minded. Anyway, I even forgot my point. I'm just so moved by my dislike.
You said they knew what they were getting when they
knew exactly what they were getting, and I also believe that was by design. Trumpism started around, you remember the Tea Party? The Tea Party Republicans they showed up around the first year of Barack's second term.
Yeah, the two, they got in trouble.
And when they were, and then and then that was also the birthers and all of that, looking for Barack's birth certificate and all of that. All of that was the baby seed of Trumpism. And then you had all of these Tea Party Republicans being voted in during Obama's second term, right? So that sets the term for all of this. So whatever's happening nationally, you have to go back to those hometowns and see what's happening locally. So you see where those politicians are that have emboldened these national leaders to be in the positions they are. So, you know, these national leaders are getting money hand over fist from lobbyists here, regulator here, just hand, ooh, you want me to sign this? You want me to sign that? Oh, disenfranchise these people, put a wall up these people, strip these people of their rights. Sure, sure. You're stuffing money into your pockets, and this money goes down to the local people and they get a little cutback. But the people who are actually suffering, the people who are actually needing this help never see it. And when they do see it, they don't look like us.
Yeah.
So the system is working exactly as it was designed to. And when he was elected, the minute he became the nominee, I knew that he would be elected. And the minute he got up in there and he started opening his mouth, I knew that it was just lie after lie after lie, because, call me simple, I judge everybody. I think everybody's clothes tell me exactly the kind of person you are. And I don't mean that, but I don't mean that by the price of your clothes. I don't mean that about where you got your clothes. I don't mean that about anything. But the way you put clothes on, the way you walk around your life, it tells me everything I need to know. It tells me whether or not you're caring about other people. It tells me whether or not you're compassionate. It tells me what is important to you. It tells me whether or not you value yourself more than others. Everything about it can be told by the way you present yourself to the world.
Mm. Now, I'm going to say, when you said that, that was a good point. And for some reason, I did not, honestly, Jay, I did not think he was going to end up being president.
Shoot.
But when he won, because they were still counting up the votes, and I was like, I'm just going to sleep, I'm depressed. I think America still has a long way to go with racism and sexism, because my grandmother raised me. So I always feel like a woman can do anything a man can. When it comes to women's rights, I'm for it. When it comes to women being treated equally, paid. But I just felt like the women that were out there holding signs saying, grab them, I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? So I felt like Hillary could have did the job. She had the experience. This man had no experience, but I guess America was not ready to come off of, okay, we had Black president for 8 years. Now we got a woman, and America wasn't ready.
Nope.
But I was surprised. When he won, I was literally surprised.
I was not even a little bit. I would remember saying to my friends, I have some friends up here. One of my dear friends, his name is Michael. His other half's name is Michael. They're the Michaels. They're so cute. He says, while we're watching, we're texting. He's all like, he's not, Hillary, come on, Hillary. It's like, girl, you better have another drink, because you know it's not going to happen. Have another drink. He was so depressed. He was walking around boo-hooing. He was all marching. He was all not my presidenting. He was doing all of these things. I was like, or we can figure out how we live through this, because what happened when Trump, when he came into office, what I think is he began to unpeel the wrapper that America tells herself she is. And then he started embolden true Americans. And I don't mean that in the divisive term in which I'm saying it, but what I think is he allowed people to say, well, you know, that's just how we talk when we're at home. So when I hear people say that, what that tells me is you too are a racist. And it has given racist and racism and sexism and xenophobia and all of these things a green light, that it gives them the platform to say or do anything I want to, because guess what? The president did it, and guess what? He ain't gone to jail. So yeah, right now there are Asian people being beat down in the street. I just watched a video of this 90-year-old cute little Asian guy get pushed down in the street. Maybe it was because I'm thinking, what if that was my papa?
Right.
How would I feel if somebody did that? But wait, someone did that to my grandfather. My grandfather was murdered, but that's neither here nor there. How can another person do that to someone? And all it boils down to is you don't think that person is the same as you. You don't think that they're equal. You don't think that they're worthy. And the reason why you think that way is because you've been taught that. The reason why you've been taught that way is because this country is designed to reinforce that. And we have to find a way to unlearn all of that, because it's easier to teach a child than to reteach an adult.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't know if it will happen. Like that's the one thing that makes me still sad, because people don't look at it like, okay, if you go outside and you go to the grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might not come home because you're Black. If somebody pulls you over, if somebody does something, and this is 2021 and we're still dealing with this. So I can't say I'm even hopeful that it will change. Probably not in my lifetime, because look at where we're at.
You know what? I believe that we have the ability to live in the world that we so desire. And I have it is my obligation to live in a world of my own creation, if you will. So all of that anti-blackness, all of that bullshit, I have not in this house, not in this life. I can't have it. Every time I see it, I stop it. If it's coming at me, trust me when I say you will get it. And I'm not going to come at you. I'm not going to call you outside of your name. I'm going to have a rational conversation, because I believe the only way that we learn is if we talk. And if you're walking around here, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, I do it and it has nothing to do with you. I do it for the person that looks like me that you say this shit to, and they beat your ass down. I don't need them to have a record. I don't give a shit about you. But I that's not true. I do care. I care, but I'm more concerned about that other person.
All right.
Because I know the pressure. And to be honest, most of my life I've been that sassy Black friend that everyone has. You know him. I'm like, I walk in and white girls love me. Oh my God. And back when I worked in fashion, it was like, oh my God, style me. Tell me tell me, because, tell me, is this my color? Should I be wearing these shoes? I don't care. And guys, like gay white guys were always trying to get it. And when I didn't want to give it, I became that uppity N-word.
Yeah.
Or bougie, or full of myself, or so many lies that had been perpetuated about me because I didn't measure up to the version of Black that you expected when you saw me.
I get that.
You get it?
I definitely get it. I definitely get it.
Tell me about it.
It's I just think like I get what you're saying, and I promise the one thing I wish people could do that is totally free is like love people, like you said, listen to people and be understanding. Even if you don't come from the same world, it doesn't cost you anything to sit down, talk to a person, understand their story. Like one thing that motivates me if I'm going through something, I always think to be grateful because
Mm-hmm.
it's somebody that wish they were in my shoes, that whatever I'm going through, they got something bigger than that. So if we could all sit down in a room full of people, different genders, different races, and talk and get to know each other, different income levels, and understand it costs you nothing to give
Nothing.
love. That's the one thing that is free, but people don't want to give it.
You know, I think what I'm learning about having conversations like this, people are scared.
Yes, very scary.
Yeah, it's having conversations about race is scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. Um, when when I approach people, I'm all like, "Hey, want to have a conversation about race?" And um, I've been fortunate enough that most of the people, well, actually, everybody that I've asked has been very, very eager to do it,
Mhm.
because I'm trying. The goal of this is to just show how easy, not easy, it's uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill you.
Right.
And it sounds like a conversation about anything else. I'm probably more uncomfortable talking about the stock market than I am about race. And that I feel like if we challenge one another, it's with the people that are in our lives, and you're all like, you know what? As a, like, my partner's white, and we talk about race a lot. And we talk about it not in a oh my God, you're a white guy, so all white guys are this and all white guys are that. But it's more along the lines of, well, darling, this is this is what I see. And then he'll say, well, this is what I see. And I'll say, oh, well, hmm. And like we were talking when I was making dinner, and I love collard greens. I love collard greens. But I saute collard greens. Like as if you're going to cook spinach, that's how I cook collard greens.
Hmm.
So I'm making collard greens. I'm doing my turkey bacon with some onions, and I throw my collards in there. And so he's painting or something, because sometimes he's a painter, sometimes he's an actor, sometimes he's a director, sometimes he's an everything. Anyway, so he's painting or something, and I fix dinner, and I set the table. Comes and he sits down and he's eating. He's eating because we have been eating kale a lot lately. So he's eating, and he's all like, he looks up at me and he's all like, "Are these collard greens?" I was like, "Yes." He's like, "My grandma used to make these." I was like, "Amazing." He's all like, "These are better." I was like, "I know, I know." And then, but that led us into this conversation about how his grandma used to cook and the spices that she used to use and the traditions that they had around holidays and what have you. And then I shared with him traditions about my family and seasonings and food and culture and all of those things, which did nothing more than deepen my understanding of both of our cultures. And that's happened with my Asian friends, and it's happened with my Latin friends, my Mexican friends, my friends from Honduras, my friends from the Philippines, my friends from everywhere. That's how I communicate. It's like, well, I I don't know, so let's talk about it. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
And if you just talk, tell some jokes, tell some funny stories about your racist nana, and it's like if it weren't for your racist nana being racist, you would know how racist that was, and you have to thank your racist grandma nana and really, really, really try to help her understand why what she's saying isn't any good.
Yeah.
And don't just say, oh, she's old, it's okay. It's not okay, because you're discounting her intelligence. And how dare you?
Because I think it was your last video I watched, and your guest was saying when his mom, well, I guess his grandma, but she raised him, had a job and she quit, but then she became racist later on. I was like, what?
Girl.
Yeah, I was like, I never thought about that. Like, it just blew my mind. I was like,
because people change. People absolutely change. And I've known people in my life have at one point in my life have been around people who are super racist, and talking about I've never been around Black people and all this stuff. And just me living my life, being exactly who I am, paying them no never mind. Right before I leave Denver, here they come, tail in between their legs. I know that a couple years ago I said that, Black people are this and Black people are that. You really changed my mind. And to that, the only thing I said is get the fuck out of here. I am not living for your approval. I don't need it. Your approval doesn't validate me at all. It does. I don't need that. And then I moved to New York. Then I moved to New York, and now I'm in New York, and I've been here for many, many years. How long have you been in Dallas?
It will be 5 years in May.
What brought you there?
Okay.
Oh.
You really want that story?
Come on.
Okay, so like I said, I was in Milwaukee. That's where I was born. Then we moved to Mississippi. I never was like, I want to stay in Mississippi for the rest of my life. Like, I was just like, I need to get out of here.
Quick.
And I think I reached a point where I was just like, then something just ignited in me. And I was like, I need to go. So, the number one go spot is Atlanta. But I wasn't going to Atlanta because everybody went there. I just loved the vibe of it there. It felt like home. And I came and I visited a friend here. And I was like, I'll never live in Dallas. I was like, I don't like it. It's just not me. So I ended up talking to a guy that had moved from Houston. And so the job I had at the time, I was just like, I love this job. That was probably like the best job I ever had. And me and him were talking, and this is right on the brink of them making us legal to get married, right? So my thing was always like, I was like crazy. I had little funny ways, but I always wanted like a family life. I wanted the 2.5 kids. I want the dog. I want the picket fence. And I was like, yes, I can do it now. So I applied for a position here and I get a promotion. So I'm making more money. And then so I was like, you know what? I'm going to Dallas. Get to Dallas.
Okay.
The way that the company was when I left Mississippi, they didn't have the same vibe here. When I got here, the way that me and him were, it changed.
It did. Because you were no longer vacation booty.
No, I was real. We were talking about getting married. So we were looking at stuff. But then I was like, who is this? Like, because you're not the same one. So he went back to Houston. I was just here. And I dated like a couple more people. Those are horror stories. And I was just like, maybe Dallas isn't for me. But one thing I had to learn is it's whatever you make it. No matter where you're at, it's what you make it. A lot of people, and I don't know why people always say this, when you coming back to Mississippi? I never said I was coming back. And if you like it there, fine. But I will never put Mississippi down in the same breath either, because people have this thing of like, oh, y'all still plowing horses. No, Mississippi is not like that. But at the same time, I just knew I did not want to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm glad that I came here, and I'm glad that I didn't go to Georgia, because it pushed me outside of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I can say probably, no, I'm going to say 16 when I moved here. 17 and half 18 were horrible for me. But I'm glad it was, because I had never been through those type of things, and it made me realize and know my own strength. Even for me going through that, like, luckily my grandma is still alive, and I could hear little things she would tell me, like, you need to do this, or you need to focus on this. And even at my darkest, I was just always like, you know what? Even though you're going through this, it's somebody going through worse. And it made me kind of man up a little bit more and realize my own strength, and realize I ain't got to go through this, or I don't have to take this. And I've always kind of been outspoken, but it put me at a whole nother level. Like, I can honestly say now, I have so much of my grandma in me, because my grandma is going to tell you how it is and like it is. And I can appreciate her struggle and the different things she's been through now. And I'm her. Like, everything I will ever be is because of her hard work and sacrifice. And I'm glad I took a chance to just step out and live.
So you've been there for 5 years now, almost?
It'll be 5 years in May.
Okay. I'm on my 9th year here. I moved here in 2012. And when I left Colorado, I was in corporate America. But much like everything in my life, I like to be a little bit dramatic. So I saved my midlife crisis until I was 39. I moved here, and I swear to the sweet baby black Jesus, I thought I was on vacation, like a 22-year-old with like no responsibilities and nobody's credit card. It was a disaster for about a year and a half, 2 years of me being here. And then at one point I'm looking at my life and I'm like, girl, you could do better than this.
Yeah.
And I put on my like, I reminded myself why I moved here, what it is I needed, what I was coming from, what I was coming for. And everything changed. Like, everything changed. And then I met this handsome fella. Just in happenstance, we met on April Fool's Day, of all days. We met on April Fool's Day that also happened to be Easter Sunday, on an app of all things. You would think so, right?
Was it Jax?
No, girl, he's white. It was Scruff. And I like to say that we met on Scruff, and neither one of us are scruffy. But I went over to his apartment, and we sat on the floor in his living room for 4.5 hours and talked about art and literature and politics and religion and his childhood and everything. So then I walked him to the train, and I said, text me later. gives me a kiss on the cheek, and he texts me 20 minutes later. Then he texts me when he got off. Then we had a drink. That was our first date. We've been together ever since then. Fun fact, at the time he had just closed a play, and he was playing Dorian Gray in the Portrait of Dorian Gray. And it's about a young man who makes a deal with the devil and has his portrait painted, and his portrait ages, but he never does. And Scott, my other half, was playing the role of Dorian Gray. And Dorian has an British accent. Scott was speaking with a British accent for the first month that we were dating. And we were sitting one afternoon having sushi. And I say, remind me again where in England you're from. And he says, no, I said, remind me again where you're from. He says, Ashborough. I was like, Ashborough? That sounds like an interesting part of England. Where is that? He says, in North Carolina. And I was like, wait, what? He's all like, yeah, I'm from North Carolina. I was like, why do you have an English accent? And he says it's a thing that he does, like every accent you can think of. If I want to hear something, he does an accent. So he was speaking in an English accent for the first 5 weeks that we were together. And then he went away for 3 months to direct a play. And it was an old-fashioned love because we wrote to each other every single day. And we fell in love that way. And that's when we started our conversations about race. And cut to last year when we went down to vacation with a friend down to the Asbury Park, which is on the Jersey Shore, around that area. And this was around the time that George Floyd had been assassinated. And after having a conversation with the people it was such a messy, sticky, gross, nasty conversation. I was the only Black person there, as I often am. And I was so done with white people by the end of this weekend, except for Scott. I was like, girl. And after that, my friend Michael and I started Comfortably Uncomfortable Conversations, where we talk about race and gay stuff, and how those two intersect with each other, and how we as Black gay men are either the sassy gay friend or that kind of lover when you need some sort of hood fantasy. And I wanted to unpack what that sounded like. And these conversations that the conversation that I'm having with you right now is kind of an offshoot of that, of just trying to talk more about race.
Love it. I love it. That's so funny to me that you weren't looking and then you found him and now y'all have these great.
Fun fact, I was talking to my mama probably in January of that year, 2017. So, no, I'm sorry, 2018. So I'm talking to mama and she's all like, well, baby, you probably need to start dating because, you're not getting any younger. And I was like, mama, she's all like, well, you're not. Because I was like 40, I was turning 45, or I just turned 45 or something like that. And she's all like, well, I would really like you to find somebody and blah, 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 blah. And I had gone on dates with one crazy person after another. I'm sorry, not crazy person. One challenging person with different views about who they wanted to be than I needed. And by happenstance, by the universe directed Scott and I to one another, and I couldn't be more content. I couldn't be I'm overjoyed. Most of the morning I wake up and I'm all like, is this really my life right now?
Oh.
So it's really sweet. And we're that couple that most people, when we're around there, are like, oh God, it's them again.
But that's a good thing though.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I know. We're cute. We're cute. We know it. But we don't like rub it in your face. We're not like overly affectionate when we're around people. It's just who we are.
yeah. Oh.
How about you? You have a husband or other half, yes?
Yeah, I have a other half. I met him, it'll be like probably like a year and 6 months.
Okay.
And I think he got me at a good point because me and him started talking. And I think we match each other as far as like us being strong in our mouths. And I remember the first time we were talking, I was like, you are too smart in the mouth for me, and I do not want to hang out with you. This is not going to happen. And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we stopped talking, and then we both got back on the app. Yes, Jax.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, let me just speak to him. And so I was like, hey, how you doing? But I think my attitude had changed somewhat. Like I had this period where I was really, really by myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I really got into myself for the first time, and I was able to see things about myself I need to change. And so
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
me and him talked again, he was just like, you should come over to my house. I'm like,
I am a
really?
lady. I will absolutely not, as you're packing your overnight bag. How dare you even ask me? Ooh, I wonder if I'm gonna need these. I'm gonna bring them anyway. Yeah, go on.
So um, he was just like, I don't like driving on the interstate. Now he's older than me. I'm 39. He's older.
Okay.
So he was like, I'm not getting on the interstate. So I was like, oh, okay, we're in Dallas. You don't really have a car. But he really did. He just has this thing about the interstate. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go over to your house. So I went over to his house and we've been together ever since. And yes, we did get down on the first night.
Good for
But
you, girl. Good for you. You grown. You can do
yes,
whatever you want to.
but I can say, some people like, oh, we have the perfect relationship. We don't have the perfect relationship. That's why it works. We're honest with each other. We get on each other's nerves. We drive each other crazy. But even in the midst of that, we can still talk to each other. Because I think I'm the kind of person where if I'm heated or having a moment, I need to separate and sort of take it in and come back and talk to you. He's the kind of person where he's very headstrong, but I can honestly say he's the first relationship in all of my 39 years where I finally felt like the love I give to you, I get it back in return. Because that was like my number one complaint. So he's a good dude. He really is.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Um, yeah, I know how hard being single was,
Hmm.
and I am very grateful for my living, breathing creative that I get to share my life with. And the one interesting thing about our relationship is we agreed very, very early on that we would never fight. We talk a lot,
Hmm.
all the time. And his parents are both behavioral psychologists.
Oh, damn.
So his ability to process his emotional intelligence is probably more advanced than anyone I've ever met at his age, because he's at the moment 12 years younger than me. So he's 36.
Young and tender.
Yes, honey. Black Panther. Too cute to be a cougar.
You are hilarious.
I think that we try very hard to negotiate one another's feelings because that's where we are most connected. We are very in tune with each other's feelings because we talk so much, and I care about his emotional well-being as much as his physical and spiritual and psychological well-being.
Then you are in love.
I know it's disgusting. I
No, that,
know. I know it's so cute. It's so cute. It's. Were you at Jessica's wedding?
I couldn't be there.
I came down. It was cute.
Uh,
Did you see the pictures?
yeah, she sent me the picture. She was gorgeous.
She says to me, she says, at the time I was designing suits. I was doing made to measure suiting was my job. And Jessica wants all of her siblings to wear white. And I call her up. I was like, "Are you serious? You want me to put on a white suit?" She's all like, "Yeah." I was like, "Jessica, baby." I told myself I was not going to come down there and show out. Because every time I go to Mississippi, I feel like I'm on Rainbow Tour. Because it's all like, oh yes, I feel like I'm on a Beyonce tour, honestly. Every time I go, I'm like, anyway, I love going home. So I show up and I'm putting on this bad white suit. I'm wearing these cute shoes that my toes are killing me in, but they look so cute and I have to wear them. And she comes down the aisle, poured into that dress in the most beautiful way. She was, oh my God, tear, just one tear. I couldn't cry anymore. I was beat, I couldn't cry anymore. But just one tear. It was so beautiful.
She is a baddie. Let me tell you something about your sister.
Tell me.
So we just had started working together, and a little bit later, that's when she got pregnant with Talia. Had Talia. Now Jessica's body is snatched. She always gonna make sure that body is snatched. She had Talia, and she gained, it was just a little bit of weight. It wasn't a lot. She was like really voluptuous. It was like sexy. She was like, oh no, this is coming off of me. And so I was like, oh, like she got her body snatched back. And I was like, because some girls' kids will be going off to college and they still saying they got baby weight.
I'm 5 more pounds and this from the baby. Girl, the baby's 37. I get it.
She is just one of the people that I feel lucky to say is my friend. She is just always on point. She's down to earth. She's well accomplished, but she is one of few people that I can say is not just beautiful on the outside, but it's on the inside too. And she makes me laugh till I cry. And she is somebody that I'm just glad that is my friend, because she has an amazing spirit that I love. And I see you have it too. And y'all mom did such a good job with y'all.
Oh, she's a magnificent, magnificent lady. She's funny. She's compassionate. She's empathetic. She's sassy. She has a wicked sense of humor. But it's quiet. You have to pick up on mama. You have to pick up on it. She'll drop a little dime there and you'll go home and you're thinking about it. You're like, wait a minute. Wait, what? Spam. Okay, I see you. Well, Jay, thank you very much for this chat. This was wonderful.
I loved it. Thank you so much for having me. I got to talk with you and I got to talk with Jessica. I did a video with Jessica too.
I know. I saw it. I watched.
I love her. So I love what you are doing. When you post it, I'm going to post the link on my channel and tell everybody to follow you. This was, I think, one of my first conversations about race.
Really?
Yes. Like I've asked questions as a kid, and just talk with your friends, but this is the first in-depth conversation I've ever had, and I'm 39 about race.
Isn't that odd?
Yes.
Isn't that odd? And that is something that now after this, you'll want to have. I would encourage you to have conversations about race with everybody.
Yeah.
And try that question. Try the when did you learn about race question. You'd be amazed at the answer you get.
I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna tell them, check out Race Kiki, because that's where I learned it from.
Aw, you're so sweet. And let me know. Oh, I might have to hit you up. I'm putting together this panel about Black guys and fetishism.
I'm there. I'm real open about that. Now that'll be a whole different conversation. That would have to be on HBO, baby. They could put this on YouTube. Could not. Oh my God, that would be pay per view. That's my whole other side.
Okay, y'all. I'm calling him. You're coming back for the fetish one, because that one. I always dance around these topics, but there are some stories, honey.
People are so uptight about sex, and I'm really not. Like
I am not either. I am not.
I've always
felt colorful language.
Yeah, I felt like I was always sexually liberated, and people used to try to sex shame me, but you're not gonna sex shame me because I know.
No, ma'am. I know my pleasure points. And I know what I like, but I also know that I don't like it when all you like about me is this. I do know that, and I know when I see it, I know when I feel it, I know when I hear it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That will be a whole nother conversation. So yes, and I still working on my questions to have you on, but the fetish.
It's gonna be a good one, I swear. And then there's another podcast that I want you to watch. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this off. So thank you very much, doll.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.